Hey everybody, I hope you're well. Brittany Verlenich here, content strategist, social media manager, host of the Social Media Marketing Podcast, Total Marketing Nerd. And I am going to be bringing on Steph Blake here in a second. I'm actually just finding her right now. And I really want you guys to be thinking, like, what are some ways I can make things more simple? So even just this week, I found that I was spending a lot of time doing a certain task, I should say classification of tasks that just doesn't really make sense for my business, like the things I'm offering. So that's especially true if you're a service provider, but it could be the same if you're on TPT as well. And I'm just looking for her name right now so I can bring her on. Um, is it hello? Oh yeah, this is the Blake. Okay, the staff. Oh my gosh, my internet on my phone is way slower than the one here. So, okay, but I want you to be thinking about that. What are some ways that you can make things more simple? Are you wasting time doing things that you really don't need to be doing? Are you doing tasks doubly? One thing you can actually do is track your time. I've been doing this almost religiously lately, and it's been very enlightening for me. Hi. So I'm still trying to find her. Oh my gosh. So weird that she's not coming up on my phone, but she is on my weird. Okay. So I'm glad that you're here. So just think about what are some things that you're doing. And sometimes you don't know even what you're doing, right? Until you sit down and track it. I use an app called Clockify Me, CLOCKIFY.me, not .com. It's a free online app and it lets you track every single thing that you're doing. And I just found that to be so incredibly helpful. Hey, Audra, if you're not already tracking your time, that's the first thing you can do is just to see like, what are you wasting time on? Because you may not even realize what you're wasting time on. And that's the worst thing is that your time could be escaping and that you don't even know. So yeah, so weird that she's not coming. I'm going to see if I can tag her since I can't seem to invite her. Don't know what's going on there. How you doing, Audra? I was just at a conference last week for agency owners, which is something that honestly I was kind of scared to go to because I was like, do I have an official agency? Oh, here she is. Try something new is that you're going to have something go wrong. Your tech is not going to work. So it's okay. Like just play with it and figure it out. You'll eventually get there. But yeah, tracking your time is one thing you can do to start simplifying and thinking, are there things here that I can actually get rid of completely? Do I need to even be doing everything that I'm doing now? It's so weird. I keep clicking go live and it's with you and it's not working. I might have to have you send the request again. So one thing you could do is just when you're tracking your time and you're finding something that's not working at all, you can just get rid of it. You don't need it, right? It's not actually helping you. Or you can look and see, is there something I can delegate? Can I hire somebody to work on my product covers, to use my templates that I have to create new products? There are so many things that you can do like that you can delegate, and it doesn't have to be an ongoing basis either. It can be a one-time thing. So that's delegation, right? You could either eliminate it completely if you go through time audit and you're like, oh my gosh, that took up so much time, or you can delegate it to somebody else, or you can think, is there a way for me to automate this? So one thing I've really been working on, because sometimes following up can be kind of a struggle for me, you're just staying organized on the back end. So I've been using an app called Zapier and things like that to be able to connect certain processes and activities to each other so that when X happens, then this happens. Oh yeah, you're
Hi.
here.
Oh my
Welcome.
gosh. I don't know what was going on. It took me forever to connect. But
I don't
hi.
know what was going on either. Oh, there goes. I don't know what was happening either. I kept inviting you and then it kept saying unable, unable. And so I was just like, okay, whatever. We're just going to roll with it. But
Yeah.
I'm glad that you made it.
Hi. I'm here. Hello. Hello.
All
So
right,
excited to be talking to
awesome.
you.
So we're talking about simplification. I was just kind of talking about time tracking, about deleting what you don't need. delegating what you can, automating what can be automated. But I would love to hear from you when you're talking about simplifying your business, because that's kind of your thing. And that's the theme of this week, right? With the simplify your online business bundle, simple online business bundle. Can you just share some tips? 'Cause I know you only have a few minutes. What are some ways that people with online shops selling printables, digital products, especially really busy teachers, because they already don't have a lot of time, what are some ways they can simplify their businesses? Because I'm sure they're dying to know.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a good question. And whenever I talk about simplification, I really want people to focus on, regardless of the type of business you have, whether you have a service-based business, whether you have a digital business, you really need to figure out what the problem is that you're solving in your business, because every single business solves a problem. So as soon as you figure out what that big problem is that your specific business solves, that is going to honestly simplify everything else inside of your business. The products that you're selling, the offer, or the products that you're creating, the offers that you're selling, like literally everything is so much more simplified, because then you can really refine who you're talking to, and you can really make sure, especially when it comes to digital products and teachers, you can really focus on creating the products that you know people want. Because I don't know about you, but I was in the printables world for a while when I first started my business. And yeah, I think my audio stopped working.
No, that was me. I
Oh,
unmuted
you,
myself. I'm
okay.
just an audio nerd. But I didn't, so you were a principal? Did I miss
No,
that? Did I
no,
know that
no, no,
already?
not principal, printables.
Oh,
I had an Etsy shop.
principals. Oh,
Yes,
sorry.
yes, yes,
Go
yes,
on.
yes. Yes, no, no, you're fine. You're fine. Yeah. So when I first started my business, I was selling printables too. And um, I personally got stuck in this trap of just like creating all of the different types of printables and resources that came to my mind, because I have a background in design. So it was really easy for me to just like throw something together really quickly. So I was just creating these. And at one point, I had like 500 different products inside of my Etsy shop. And I was like, why am I not getting any sales? There's 500 products here. There's more than enough to sell, right? But the problem that was happening for me, and this may be happening with your people too, is I was not approaching it strategically. I was just creating what I thought people wanted. But in reality, they didn't really care. They didn't really want those things. But that's because I didn't know who I was talking to. I didn't know the problem I was solving. I didn't know who I was talking to. And I was just really, really overcomplicating it and spending a lot of time working when I didn't need to be doing really anything. So yeah, that would be I shared a lot there. So there was like 5 or 6 tips in there.
Yeah, well, definitely for the problem solution thing. I think that a lot of times, at least with people in my audience, they get started because they see a problem and they're addressing it, but they're just so distracted. They're thinking a million things a day. They're making all these micro decisions that they're not really thinking strategically about how can I take what solved a problem for me in my classroom and communicate that online so that other people know it's going to solve the problem for them too, right? I think
Mm-hmm.
that's one thing where they really struggle.
Yeah.
And then especially because they love creating, right? Like people in my audience are typically creatives. They love making the pretty design. They love the
Yep.
fonts. They are clip art hoarders.
Yep.
Like so everyone's here that does that. Like they love to hoard fonts and clip arts, and they love talking color and things like that. So when it comes to things like operations, which it seems kind of like that's a lot of what you do too, is like thinking about like streamlining things. When it comes to doing the things they really don't want to do, and I think we all do this, right? If there's something that's maybe not naturally in our wheelhouse, that gets pushed off to the side.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's another thing too, is that they put it off, or they like subconsciously make themselves busier with all of these other things that could be automated, that could be delegated, because they're just really trying to avoid the things that they know they actually need to be doing, but that they're not. That's
Oh,
so
you
good.
are preaching my language right now. I have ADHD. So I am the queen of avoiding things to get a dopamine hit. So
Exactly. And
I
then
completely understand.
what's so funny is when you do that, or when you know you can, like I was always that person, I didn't need to study for the test because I could just read it once and know it, right? So I was like the smart, lazy person. I would wait until the last minute and procrastinate for essays because I knew I could, which sometimes it served me, sometimes it didn't. But I think with something like this, especially if you have limited time, you have to be really strategic. So I know, because you only have a few minutes, let's talk about the
Well,
simple online business
can
bundle.
I
Oh,
can I
unless you want
actually
to
say
add.
something really quickly? Yeah. So I mean, this is something that I notice happening a lot. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, like your audience could be different. But I notice just in general, when people come from any type of like real job, right? Like a corporate job, if you work in like the corporate world or you're a teacher, right? Everybody has this, because this is what I did. I was in a 9 to 5 job for 10 years. I worked in corporate marketing, and I had all of these like really, really cool ideas of what I thought entrepreneurship was going to be. I had all of these grand ideas of what I wanted my life to look like. But then once I actually started my business, I was like hit over the head with the reality of the situation. So I think that's a really big thing that especially like people who are newer in business, they don't understand, just to be very blunt, because they don't understand that they're running a business now. This is not some kind of like side gig, side hobby that you can just like do a couple of hours here and there and expect to make 6 figures from and be able to retire your partner. That's not how it works, especially not in the beginning stages. Well, it can work like that down the line when you're really strategic about it. But in the beginning stages, you just can't spend all day in Canva designing pretty things. You can't do that. You need to be really doing those uncomfortable things that lead to sales, which is what a lot of people don't do. And that's where that avoidance comes in. That's where that avoidance, that procrastination, that's where that comes in. And then they're wondering, okay, well, why am I not like getting sales? Like what's happening? Like why is my business failing? Because you're sitting in Canva designing things all day long. Right. You're not even selling the things that you're creating. Right.
And what's so hard about that is there was a time where you could do that, where you could rely on Google SEO traffic, where you could rely on marketplaces like TPT, like Etsy. Yep. But now more than ever, and I don't just want to fall into the fact that it's saturated, because I feel like we all know that, and we kind of use that as a cop out. When things aren't going well, oh, well, it's saturated,
I don't believe in that, but that's a whole other topic we can talk about.
Yeah. But that's what people fall into, right? These are the things that the people say. So I think that maybe there was a time, because so many of people in my audience are seeking passive income, and put that in quotes, right? Passive. Yep. They're seeking passive income. And so they say, oh, okay, well, all I have to do is put up a few blog posts, right? Get the resources up on this marketplace, and they're just going to send the traffic to me, and it's going to be great. And I don't have to do any marketing. I don't have to do any sales. I don't need to know about that stuff, because I am just doing this. And I'm not saying that that's not totally possible, because I think the problem with podcasts and even things like this is you only hear from those outliers because they have this great story, and you hear from this 1 or 2 people who did that, and then you think, oh, okay, so that's all I have to do. And I just think or even the hustle. I have a whole bunch of thoughts on hustle and anti-hustle. And I think no, the beginning is going to be more hard work, to be honest, because you're figuring out what your problem even is. And you don't even know what you don't know. How you just said, people don't know better because they don't even know what the knowledge gap is. And how can you even begin to solve that problem when you don't even know how to articulate what the problem is? So good. Yeah. Okay. So I don't know how much time you have, which is why I'm talking a mile a minute. Although let's be real, I talk a mile a minute anyway. But what
I have a couple minutes. I have a coaching call that I have to be on, but it's not for 15 more minutes, so we're good.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I would love to hear, first of all, any thoughts you have in response to what I said, any other tips for simplification. And then I also want to make sure that you have a few minutes to mention the bundle, because today's the last day to grab it too. Yeah. So anything else you want to riff on, go for it.
Oh my goodness. How much time do you have? We don't have enough time for all the things that I want to talk about, because I could talk about simplification. I could talk about entrepreneurship for days, honestly, because I've been in this world for 8 years now. Prior to that, I was working in corporate for 10 years. So I've done it all. I failed every single day for 8 years. And there's so many different things that we can talk about, but specifically, like I said, when it comes to entrepreneurship in general, we need to remember that we're running businesses. And like you said before, people fall into the trap of just thinking that they can throw up a website, throw up a couple social media posts, create a Pinterest profile, and pin their blog posts to Pinterest, and the buyers are just going to come in. That's not the case. That will not work. Now, if you have tens of thousands, how do I say that? $10,000+ per month. That's what I'm trying to say. To spend on ads, sure, that could happen for you, right? But remember, you need to be selling. You need to be talking about the thing that you're creating. Because if you're not talking about it, people don't know about it. Okay, you can't just throw up a website and think that people will come. That's not how it works. People need to know about the thing that you're selling. So whether you're selling in person at markets, right? Or you're running ads, that's going to cost you money, but it will kind of do the work for you, as long as you know how to set up and tweak those ads and honestly run them the right way, right? And then the third way is really to just dedicate your time. So it's either like you're dedicating your time or you're dedicating your money. And for the vast majority of people in the beginning stages of their business, they will be dedicating their time, and it's going to be time on the wrong things. And that's where people fall into that trap of thinking like, I'm not good at this, I'm not successful, and then they end up burning their business down before they even make any progress. But it's just because they're overcomplicating it and they're working on the wrong things. They're not staying really focused on those, like, I hate this word, but like needle movers. I don't like that. It's like so corporate-y and like icky to me because I'm just out of that world. But that's really what they are. Like, they're the income producing activities, the IPAs, that's what I call them. Like, that's what you really need to be focused on. And if you're not focused on doing those IPAs, you're just going to, like, honestly burn yourself out, because I've done that too. I've worked the 80-hour plus weeks. I know what that life is like. And now I work 10 to 15 hours a week. Much better, let me tell you. Much, much better. But
So true. And and even if, like, I just want to add with
yeah,
ads, no matter what platform you choose, right? So even if you were to go all in with SEO or work on a marketplace, and even if you weren't to go and have, like, be a big Instagrammer or whatever, because that's another thing, a lot of people in my audience, they're really hesitant to use outside forms of marketing because they're like, well, I'm not good at that. I'm not good at sales. Like,
okay, well,
I'm not
guess
good at
what?
marketing.
Stephanie's
Yeah.
going to come here and give you a kick in the pants. You run a business. You have to
Yeah.
figure out how to get good at it.
That's
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 it.
what
Or
it
you
is,
have to spend
right?
money on
You just
ads.
you
You
just
got to
figure it
figure
out.
it
But
out.
even if you were just doing ads, you still need to know how to write compelling copy.
Yep.
So you need copywriting chops.
Yep.
Like, you still need to have some kind of a grabbing image or title because
Yep.
you're putting an image. So I don't really think that there's a way to escape it. You know what I mean?
No.
Even if you're just listing, let's just say you don't use social media. Even if you're just using a marketplace, like you're on Etsy, you're on Amazon KDP, you're on Teachers Pay Teachers, you still have to use copy in your titles to stop the scroll. You still have to have captivating imagery to make them want to stop. You still have a sales funnel on that page. You still have your description for your SEO. So I don't think there's any way to really escape it. And I love that you just said, get good at it, right? Like, there might be some people who are born with an aptitude or a personality that makes certain things easier. Like, I hear all the time people are like, oh, I'm an introvert. And I'm like, are
So
you
am I.
using that as an excuse? Like, why are you using
So
that
am
as an
I.
excuse? Just get over it. I use things that are uncomfortable all the time, like every day. So yeah, I love your realness with it. And I love so how did you get to, maybe just a couple things before, as long as I have you, a couple
Yeah,
things
sure.
of, like, how did you get to that 10-hour-ish work week? Because you are doing this full time, and put that in quotes because nobody really wants to work full time, right?
Right.
But full time money with 10 to 15 hours a week. Oh yeah, Audrey says get good at it or hire it out, right? That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. Automate, delegate, or automate. Same thing for
Or
me, following
eliminate.
up, not my strong suit. So what are some other things that people could do to, for needle movers or income producing activities if you are limited on time and you only have a few hours a week, at least in the middle stages?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, honestly, the first thing that you have to do is you have to figure out what your goals are. Like, what are the goals for your specific business, right? Like, for example, when I started my business, it was, like I said, like 8 years ago at this point. I was working in corporate. I didn't have kids at the time, and I was very newly married. So, like, I had a lot of time and a lot of flexibility to kind of like do whatever I wanted, right? Like, I was like 27 or something like that. So like I had just like all of this time in the world to do whatever I wanted. So at that point, my like big goal was to leave my 9 to 5 job. I was like, okay, I am going to um, leave this 9 to 5 job with this business. Like, that was the reason why I started. And I also had a longer term goal of wanting to, when my husband and I did have kids, wanting to make sure that I wasn't working all of the time so I could be home with my kids, right? So like, when I first started, that was my big goal. 3 years in, I was working 80 hours a week every single day. Every single day, 80 hours a week. Like, it was stupid. It was so dumb. I was like working myself into the ground. I had no idea what I was doing. The first year, I started 9 different businesses because I just got so excited about all of the different possibilities. I was like, oh my gosh, I can have an Etsy shop. I can have a virtual assistant business. I can do drop shipping. I can have all of this passive income. It can all be flowing to me while I'm sleeping. It's going to be so great. That didn't happen. Spoiler alert. Instead, that first year, I think I made $53 total, and I was working 80 hours a week. Like, it was insane. Like, so dumb, so dumb. And but now looking back at it, like, obviously I'm glad I had that experience because I learned a lot from it. And really the thing that kind of pushed me to switch things up in my life and business was when I found out I was pregnant with my first son. So 2018, found out I was pregnant literally the day before I was getting on a plane to go to Las Vegas with my husband. I was like, I should probably just take a pregnancy test, like just to make sure. All four of them were positive. And I was like, well, this is going to be an interesting Vegas trip. So did that. And that was really kind of what set things into motion for me, because I said, okay, I started this business to leave this 9-to-5 job. I'm still in this job. I don't want to have this baby, this business, and a 9-to-5 job. Like, I don't want that, because I know I just can't manage that. Like, who could? Right? So that was when I really like put things into gear and focused on simplifying every single part of my business. And I kind of like honestly accidentally created the framework that I teach now in my memberships that really helps to simplify business for, at that time, I was a service provider. So at that time, I was a virtual assistant. And then in 2019, I moved into coaching. So, and then I use that same process in my coaching business. So I've been able to like use this framework and this process in different types of business models, and it works in all of them. And honestly, it's so much easier than people, so much more simple than people make it out to be. It's not easy, because what is easy to do is overcomplicate it. That's really easy to do. Overcomplicating, getting distracted by shiny objects, especially if you're somebody like me with ADHD, who it's like squirrel, 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 right? Like, that's the easy thing to do. The hard thing to do is really simplify your business and focus on only the things that you need to be doing, those IPAs, those income producing activities we talked about before. Because if you don't do that, if you don't get serious about simplifying, you are going to be working the 80-hour weeks like I did, or you're just not going to run your business at all anymore. You're just going to burn it to the ground. Like, that's the reality of the situation that a lot of people don't want to tell you. Like, they're going to tell you you can have 6 figures in 6 weeks. Sure, work 100 hours a week, spend $30,000 a month on ads. You can have 6 figures in 6 months, right? But at least in my world, we're all about doing things really strategically and really simply, right? So whenever I work with people, I want to make sure that you're doing, first of all, what you want to do. Like, what lights you up? What excites you? Secondly, what will allow you to live your life first, right? We're always talking about designing businesses around our lives. We do not want to run our lives around our business. If you want to do that, go get a corporate job. There are plenty of places where you can work 80 to 100 hours a week and they will pay you nothing. Plenty of places will allow you to do that, right? You want freedom. That's why you started this business in the first place, right? And again, it all comes down to really simplifying things, right? And if you don't, like I said, if you don't do that, your business won't be there anymore. And you could potentially get really sick too.
I love that you differentiated simple and easy,
Yeah.
because that is so true. Like,
Yeah.
when, like, sometimes I can even like not go as far to define that for people, because I'm like, oh, marketing is really simple. You just need a way to get discovered. You need a way to nurture your people, and you need a way to sell to them. Like,
Yeah.
in theory, that is it. But it's like, obviously there's more than that, right? It's like, well, do you have copywriting skills? Do you know what the problem is? Do you know what the solution is? Is your audience that you've been marketing to the right one? That's something that I've been looking at even for myself lately. It's like, okay, if I'm creating, and this is for anyone, that works for, if you've been creating DIY content, like for people to do the thing themselves, if you're selling low ticket offers, that's fabulous for you. So if you're a TPT seller and you're watching this, content that the teachers can spend $3 to $5 and then go and take what they're using and what you're teaching and run with it, that's great. If you are a service provider or a coach, yes, empower them to show them that what they're doing is possible. But then also, if you are showing that, oh, they don't need you, then you're not really giving them a reason to call you or book a discovery call. You know what I mean? Like, you're saying, well, you don't really need me to do that. So you want to be thinking about, does everything match up? And you're right, it's not easy. And I think that that's a harder sell, is to tell people like, hey, do you want to do this thing that's really hard? And you're going to spend a lot of time at first, and you're going to have to get really focused. That's going to be uncomfortable. And by the way, you might not make as much money as you think in the first 6 months or however long. That is a harder sell. But I think that if you are the kind of person who can do that, you are going to have more success in the long term. And then you will be able to get to 6 figures just by virtue of not quitting and getting better every single day. So I'm really glad that you're here sharing.
Yeah. absolutely. Like I am such an open book, and sometimes people are like really offended by the things that I say because I push their buttons and I push them and I make them actually think about like, are you approaching your business seriously or not? If you're not, like, stop spending time doing it, honestly, because it's a lot of work. Nobody will ever tell you, any successful entrepreneur, like you can look up, just Google like stories from successful entrepreneurs, right? Like not a single one of them will tell you that it was easy. There's ups, there's downs. There's even more downs than there are ups a lot of the time, right? But eventually you get to that point where, you know, the analogy where you're like pushing a snowball up a hill and like eventually you get to the top and then just like snowballs,
Yeah.
that's the term, like down, right? That's exactly how entrepreneurship is. But there's that way to the top is much harder for people than it is like once that snowball comes down. Then yes, obviously everything gets much easier once you have that momentum. But a lot of people, they will just get they'll stop halfway up that hill because they're uncomfortable. They don't want to tell people about the product that they have for sale, the product that they took 6 months creating. Like they spent the time creating it, but they're afraid to talk to people about it. Guess what? That's selling.
100%.
As an entrepreneur, you're a salesperson.
100%. And you know what's funny about that is like with that analogy is that when you are up near the top, like not at the top yet, but you're like almost there, that's actually the hardest part, right? Because that's when you've been going the longest, you're really tired, you're like, is there even a point, you know?
Oh God, yes.
You're blind. It's like a false summit. You're like almost there. You don't know how much further you have. And the crazy thing is you might just be like 2 steps away and be like, oh, okay. You know?
Yeah.
But it's hard when you don't know what you don't know. So having like people to do this with you and like bear the load of that same analogy, or even just having someone to kind of push you and say, come on, like we're like, just keep going, we're almost there, is so invaluable. I just can't say that enough because it's already hard doing it in general. Doing it by yourself, I feel like is damn near impossible. I don't know how anyone does this by themselves.
I'm gonna halfway disagree with you there.
Ooh,
I definitely think that it's important, and I do have to get to this coaching calls.
Sorry.
But no, you're fine. I just almost forget about it because I just get so excited. Like I said, when I talk about this, I just talk about it forever. But it's definitely important to have people to support you 100%. But at the end of the day, you are all you have. If you don't fully believe in yourself, if everybody else around you goes away and you don't believe in yourself, doesn't matter, right? Like what's the point? Like if, for example, if my husband and I got divorced tomorrow, I hope that doesn't happen, would my success in my business be dependent on him? No, because it's my business, right? Like if all of my clients decided to leave me tomorrow, would I just want to burn my business down? No, because it's my business. At the end of the day, it's my business, right?
Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah.
Like, absolutely. I think it's good to have people there to support you and to cheer you on. But at the end of the day, you have to be your biggest cheerleader. Because, I mean, like, anybody else could leave you at any point. And that sounds like pretty negative, but that's, again, that's the reality of the situation, right? Like, you can't like really fully trust other people to be there for you all the time. So that's why I always preach like having the importance of being your biggest cheerleader, but also being your own best friend.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. Well, and that's why I usually say you need both, because you can't even always rely on yourself because your brain will lie to you. Your brain will play tricks on you and say like, oh, you can't do this. It's too hard. You're too tired. You know what I mean? So you need the positive feedback loop from other people. And you also have to have that internal dialogue. Totally agree. Like you do need to have that, because if you don't have mental fortitude to even go up the hill, right, then you're never going to start. Thanks for joining us, Audra. Appreciate it. By the way, Steph, sometime we need to have you on the podcast so then we have more time and we're not as rushed.
Oh yeah.
You know, go in on this stuff.
Yeah. Let's do it. Oh, but let's talk about the bundle really fast before I have to run. So, it's actually, today's the last day to get it at midnight tonight Central. It is called the Simple Online Business Bundle. And it is all about helping you, guess what? Simplify life, simplify business. There are over 100 different contributors, just like Brittany, showing up, showcasing their offers in the bundle. And it's so incredible. Like I just keep like looking at all of the different things that people have contributed, and all of the products are anywhere from like $37 to $497 on their own. And when you buy this bundle, it's only $7. $7 for like 105 different resources. It's like such a no-brainer, such a no-brainer. And it ends tonight. So make sure that you grab it. Like, don't even question it. Just go buy it because I guarantee there's going to be at least one thing in that bundle that will help you. One thing that I will just plug for myself and the Brittany, I'd love for you to talk about yours, is when you buy the bundle, you get 1 month free in my membership, the 20-hour week club. So like you get 1 month free to like get support from me, learn from me. If you like me, if you don't like me, then maybe that's not an offer that you want to redeem in the bundle. There's 104 other ones in there that will work for you. But the really cool thing is there's something for everybody, something for like pretty much every part of your life and business, which is why it's such a great collection of resources that have come together. So Brittany, I want you to talk about yours just very quickly, if you don't mind.
Yeah, totally. So I contributed the Profitable Post Power Pack, which say that 5 times fast, but basically it's a mini course and bundle to help you plan out your social media for your next course or membership launch. And I really included a lot in there. I really do try to over deliver, even if it's for quote unquote low ticket offers, because low ticket doesn't mean low value.
Yeah.
So that's already a stellar deal because 37 for $7. But then also, just in case you do grab the VIP one, I've included my copy audit intensive in there. If you know that this is not your thing, the sales pages, the copywriting, you don't want to be salesy, let me do it for you. Sometimes it's so much easier to have someone else do it and you are kind of removed, and then you can have someone else kind of hype you up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's usually 97. Again, like the VIP is insane how much is in there. It's really, really good. So $7. I'm going to put the link here in the comments. You can also DM me or comment Simple, and I will send that stuff over to you. Thanks so much for joining me. I know you got to run to your coaching call.
Yeah, you're welcome. I do just very quickly want to let people know that we have a private community for all of the buyers too, and we're going to have a redemption party on November 1st. So we're going to help you go through the bundle and actually sign up for things and actually take action, because I know that's something that happens when people buy bundles and things. They just sit there and they collect dust, and we don't want that. We want you to actually take action and sign up for the best products and resources for you.
Yeah.
So, somebody said, please send it to me. So
oh, I got you. I'll send it over to you.
Send your link over to her. Perfect. All right. Yes, I do have to run, but thank you for having me. This is so much fun.
So fun. All right. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.